Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome everyone here this morning to begin the 10th public meeting for calendar year 2014 and ask that you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we commence with public meeting, I'd like to, we have a couple items that we want to begin public meeting with, and one is one recognition that the commission received from the governor's innovation team. And we also have an announcement, a recognition here this morning for our 2014 Emerging Leaders class. But the first item is the Governor's Innovator Award as part of our Team Efficient recognition. And I want to recognize Commissioner Whitmer, who joined me along with Secretary Shoke, Secretary Sherry Phillips, and Secretary Logan with Governor Corbett here in Hearing Room 1. And I was so proud of showcasing all the technology here in Hearing Room 1. The governor knew that day that we were a well-equipped, highly functioning, independent agency. And seriously, it was a testimony to, I know Jan Freeman and Bob Gramola have taken great steps to get this room ready. But on April 29th, Commissioner Whitmer and I, along with Secretary Chiavetta, who I see out there this morning, joined us to welcome Governor Corbett and a number of his cabinet secretaries. And we celebrated the announced $650 million in savings through innovation across many sectors here in state government. Some of those sectors include customer service, reducing costs, and eliminating inefficiencies. And Commissioner Whitmer, I'm proud to recognize you here this morning to not only showcase, you get to play Vanna White here this morning, to showcase our award, but I give you an opportunity to make some remarks on behalf of the Commission. Commissioner Whitmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you noted, the governor joined us here in Hearing Room 1 on April 29th, and he announced that through the Innovator Awards program, the Commonwealth has saved over $650 million, and he recognized the team efficient here at the Commission, and he provided us with the outstanding work that we've done here with the Paperless PUC initiative, and this was the award. Here's my Vanna White imitation. For all of the work that was done. Secretary Chiavetta, in fact, did lead our Team Efficient Working Group and accepted the award on behalf of the team from the governor. Through the Paperless PUC initiative, the work of Team Efficient, the PUC has reduced the paper copy filing requirements, made more information electronically available. We've streamlined things here at the PUC, and we've kept paper costs under control internally and also for all of the parties that file here with the Commission. In just under 2 years, the cumulative savings for the Paperless PUC project has grown to more than $500,000. These savings were realized by the PUC, consumers, utilities, law firms, and other practitioners, many of you who are here in the room today. In addition to the Commission's award, the governor has also provided us with signed certificates for each member of Team Efficient. And they will be handed out by Secretary Chiavetta to all of the team members. However, I think that it's very important for us to take a little bit of time to recognize all of the members of Team Efficient who are here today, and I'm going to read off each one of your names. I'd like you to stand up so that we can recognize you appropriately with a round of applause at the end. Diane Anchaff, Kelly Burkowski, Joel Cheskis, Rosemary Chiavetta, Nancy Depew. Rosemary, stand up.
Rosemary, stand up. Stand up on the chair. That was not in any way, Rosemary. I mean, there's only one Rosemary Schiavetta.
Right. Nancy Depew, Melissa Durr, Wendy Freet, Kim Hafner, Luann Hess, Tiffany Hunt, Richard Kanaski, Aaron Laudenslager, Rich Layton, Catherine Mayberry, Jamie McClintock, Sarah Miller, Jennifer Nason, Cindy Page, Sherry Pyle, Judge Rainey, Michael Riley, Eric Rohrbaugh, Crystal Sakavich, Melissa Strasser, Kira Williams, and Christine Wilson. On behalf of all my colleagues, I would like to just say and all of us here at the Commission, I'd like to say thank you very much to Team Efficient for all of the work and effort that you've put into this, and we're going to look forward to bigger and better things next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitmer, and again, congratulations, and thank you again for representing this commission and the recognition that the governor and the administration provided us in this award. I'd like to think we can take credit for it, but there's no I in team, and to the recognition that was just provided by our team members, again, we congratulate you. The next recognition is the recent graduating class of 2014 that took place on May 22nd. This is our very successful Emerging Leaders Program, and there are 13 representatives here today that are part of the class of 2014. And when I say your name, I want to ask that you please stand and be recognized. First start with Megan Good. Megan, are you here? And I want to give a special shout out to Megan. Megan did a tremendous job last week for this commission at the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. And I want to commend her for that. Dave Hickson, where's David? David, thank you. I want to thank you, David, for what you've been doing with the polar vortex and all the outreach you've done. And more importantly, congratulate you on the recognition here as an emerging leader. Matt Rivnak, where's Matt? Matt, you guys are all lined up. Matt, congratulations. I also want to thank you for what you've done with OCMO and helping us with polar vortex. Tiffany Hunt. Tiffany, twice you got recognized this morning. And Shelby Linton Ketty with Commissioner Whitmer's office. There she is. Oh, see, they are all lined up. Okay. Shelby, also, I want to thank you for your work more recently with the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. Jonathan Nace from OSA. Jonathan, thank you. Congratulations. Crystal Sakavich. Crystal, who's here, I gave her a shout out. She's done phenomenal work for us on Act 13. And I know she's not here, but again, congratulate her. Kasha excuse me. Let me try that over. You got to give me a little bit of deference here. But Kasha, congratulations. Emily Shears. Emily, congratulations. Brian Shuey is not present here. Melissa Strausser. Melissa, congratulations. I know you keep Rosemary in check, I can tell. Derek Vogelsong. Derek, there he is. Congratulations. And lastly, Amy Savulich. See, Amy, congratulations. And again, my colleagues and I, again, want to take this opportunity to recognize you. I believe this is the second graduating class. As I stand, where's our historian? Second full graduating class. And I just want to say this has been a great investment on behalf of the commission to identify those emerging leaders within the organization. It speaks to the success, and I recognize the vice chairman, the efforts we put forth with the PFM report and identifying new ways to build capacity within this organization. And it starts with the people standing up here today. So congratulations, and you've done great work. Commissioner Brown and I thoroughly enjoyed your presentations. She was taking very copious notes that day, That made me a little nervous because she's getting in implementation mode. So, but seriously, you all did. Your presentations were superb, and you deserve this recognition. And you're going to carry this on to the next class of emerging leaders. So, congratulations. Well, to get started on our agenda, we have to recognize Cheryl Walker Davis, but the first item is the approval of the minutes from the April 23rd meeting, and I'd like to recognize Commissioner Cawley as editor of the minutes. Commissioner Cawley.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning. I have reviewed the minutes of our April 24th public meeting, and I move that they be approved as submitted.
Second. Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as submitted. Now it's a pleasure to welcome to the podium this morning. I called her this morning the Lady in Red, but we know her as Cheryl Walker Davis. Cheryl, good morning, and it's a pleasure to begin public meeting.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, and thank you. And it is a pleasure to commence public meeting. On behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda item, commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Office of Executive Director. It is recommended that the Commission approve the ratification of H. Kirk House as the Director of the Commission's Office of Competitive Market Oversight and Daniel Mumford as the Deputy Director of that office.
So moved. Second. Any discussion? And I think there will be discussion because we're not going to deliberate this, Kirk and Dan. This is veto proof, I'm told. But I want to recognize the Vice Chairman here this morning for some comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm honored to be making the remarks this morning regarding two veteran team members within the Commission that have a combined 54 years of experience with this organization. This morning, what we're doing is finalizing two key appointments in our Office of Competitive Market Oversight. And for those of you who have been following the Commission over the years, you realize how important the role of OCMO is in the organization and the health of our competitive marketplace in Pennsylvania. In fact, we are viewed as a national model, and I really attribute that to the team that is behind those efforts here at the Commission. So this morning, I'm delighted to be recognizing those two team members in Kirk House. Kirk is, as you've heard in the motion, is being appointed as the Director of the Office of Competitive Market Oversight, and he will be physically moving from Cheryl Walker Davis' operation into the Executive Director's offices. And I think that underscores the importance and the significance of the role of OCMO. As this competitive market continues to grow and mature, it also brings new issues and challenges of complexity. And so having Kurt in that role, I believe that we'll be very well served. Dan Mumford is also being appointed this morning to the Deputy Director of the Office of Competitive Market Oversight. And for those of you who have been following the polar vortex over the last 4 months, I just want to share one statistic with you this morning that the impact to Dan's part of the organization has resulted in over 19,000 informal complaints and inquiries as a result of the polar vortex. And that's about 5 times the volume that we typically see in the organization for the entire year. So this has been a huge spike. And I really have got to commend Dan this morning for being on point and helping this Commission navigate through a very challenging point of the competitive market. So again, I'm delighted to be recognizing the two. Kirk is here this morning with his wife, Eileen, and I'd ask if the three of you, Dan, Kirk, and Eileen, could please stand so we could recognize you.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. And let me just echo one point. We gave a lot of shout outs here this morning about the work, the coordinated effort behind our very successful outcome at the Independent Regulatory Review Commission. And we all want to thank you both. You guys were also extremely supportive of getting us over that goal line. And we owe you both a debt of gratitude working with the team members that were part of that success story. So thank you. And I hate to say this, but I hope that we don't have to experience a solar vortex, as I've used the phrase. But now, Vice Chairman, I feel very comfortable with these two individuals at the helm that we're headed in the right direction. Also recognize our Executive Director, Jan Freeman, who had an instrumental role in that process as well. So Jan, I'm giving you a shout out too this morning. Any further discussion? Any commissioners have any comments? Commissioner Brown?
I would like to congratulate Kirk and Dan as well. I kind of think of the fact that the polar vortex is part of your probation period. Most people don't have that, but congratulations to both of you.
Commissioner Whitmer, no comments?
Now that we have that period of ugliness out of the way, we're going to move on with gas RMI, and the OCMO office will be fully engaged in that. So I look forward to working with you.
Commissioner Cawley, brief comments? Oh, sorry.
Why do you suggest mine have to be brief? I can't understand that. I congratulate both of you. You've both proven yourselves a long time ago, and this is a formal recognition by the Commission of not only the importance of OCMO, but your parts in it. So we know you're going to do well, and we thank you for your willingness to undertake these challenges.
Thank you. Well said. With that, Cheryl, I'm going to turn it back over to you to move on to our next agenda item, and that would be under the Office of Special Assistance.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matters on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance. We recommend the adoption of the OSA recommendation in the proceeding involving the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Columbia Gas of PA, noting the joint statement of Commissioner Whitmer and Commissioner Cawley.
So moved.
Second?
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Cawley for purposes of the joint statement. Commissioner Cawley.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Whitmer and I join in this statement. We have before us a proposed settlement which, among other things, imposes a $110,000 civil penalty. It was submitted on behalf of our Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement. These are our prosecutors who make independent decisions on whom to prosecute. And Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania regarding various alleged violations by Columbia regarding valve inspection procedures, excessive pipeline pressures, excavation damage, and lack of pressure devices. And this investigation extended back for a considerable period of time. The Commission encourages settlements, and we very often approve them, but occasionally we do not. And when we modify a settlement, we send it back to the parties to deal with our concerns with the settlement. This settlement is somewhat like that. It really is a situation where we need more information before we feel we can intelligently vote on the settlement. And what the statement does is ask the parties to address a number of questions that we'd like answers to before we vote on this matter. And for that reason, Commissioner Whitmer and I asked the parties to address these questions.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting the joint statement of Commissioners Cawley and Whitmer.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation in the proceeding involving the revised settlement in the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement versus Energy Service Providers, Inc., DBA, Pennsylvania Gas and Electric.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
On page 3 of the public meeting agenda, in the proceeding involving the revised smart meter deployment plan filed by the Metropolitan Edison Company, Pennsylvania Electric Company, and West Penn Power Company, there is your joint motion, Mr. Chairman, along with Commissioner Cawley.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Cawley for purposes of reading this morning's joint motion. Commissioner Cawley.
Again, Chairman, thank you. And like the statement of Commissioner Whitmer and me, I would like this included in the record as if I had read all of it. This one is 3 pages long, and I will not read all of it. This involves consideration of a revised smart meter deployment plan filed by the First Energy companies. For the reasons that are stated in the motion, we believe that the revised deployment plan should be adopted. It seeks approval of a plan that accelerates the deployment of smart meters in Pennsylvania. More specifically, the 4 First Energy companies propose to install smart meters for all of Penn Power's 170,000 customers by the end of 2015, and approximately 98.5% of all of the other First Energy company customers by no later than mid-2019. Therefore, the deployment of nearly 100% of all smart meters for First Energy customers would be completed 6 months earlier under this plan as opposed to an original plan filed by the companies. The overall nominal spending would not be affected by this revised plan. The companies would spend $47 million more in capital between 2014 and 2019, and then a significantly portion less over the succeeding years. But the nominal cost would not change, even though the plan is being accelerated. The motion goes into detail about various benefits, including net present value and other thoroughly riveting subjects. The point is that there are many other benefits, not only to customers, but to the companies by accelerating deployment of these smart meters. And those of us who follow what the Commission has done in implementing Act 129 of 2008 know that the language in the law says that the period for deployment of all smart meters across Pennsylvania is not to exceed 15 years from 2008. The electric distribution companies are therefore encouraged to expedite the deployment process and increase customers' benefits in a cost-effective manner. The primary goal of all of these programs is to implement them in a manner that balances overall efficiency and timeliness of the installations. Some of the distribution companies are far ahead of others in doing this, but we have encouraged and we have approved accelerated deployment as we are approving for the First Energy companies today. Therefore, we move that the revised smart meter deployment plan submitted by the 4 First Energy companies be approved. Secondly, that the companies be required to fully investigate and track all sources of potential savings, including but not limited to theft reduction, revenue enhancement, avoided capital cost and distribution operations, and flow-through of the savings to customers in future filings. Therefore, and further, that the Office of Special Assistance prepare an order consistent with this motion.
May I entertain a second? I need a second. Second. Thank you, Vice Chairman. Any discussion? I would like to take this opportunity, one, to commend the company here this morning, but I want to go back to the actions taken by this commission with respect to the polar vortex. And as you know, with unanimous approval of the Independent Regulatory Review Commission, we are moving forward with approval, hopefully, of interim steps to provide for accelerated switching. The deployment of these meters on an accelerated basis helps accomplish that. However, and here is the however piece, I would encourage this particular utility to, one, do aggressive consumer education around the meters to customers, and more importantly, as I've railed about this, it is a little disingenuous for this commission to be proactive in supporting the deployment of smart meters, which we have, and we should be commended as a commission, but it's disingenuous for the utilities to use the smart meters and use rhetoric that they haven't designed the IT systems behind the meter. Simply put, we'll call this metering 101. We don't want smart meters with dumb rate structures and dumb functionality behind the meter. The two, for any electrical engineers out there, the two don't go hand in hand. So the point I make here this morning, especially with this particular utility, and if lessons can be learned, they can go to Philadelphia and learn from PECO, who will have these meters deployed, I believe, by the end of this summer, that this is an opportunity, one, to educate your consumers on the benefits, and more importantly, work cooperatively with this commission on the accelerated switching requirements that were set forth in the ERC approval. And I just bring this up because I don't think any of us will have the patience to deal with excuses made that we don't have the proper IT systems behind that meter set to communicate with customers that want to go out in the market and shop. So, Commissioner Cawley, did I reinforce that message?
You certainly did. I agree with you.
Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting the, motion passes unanimously,
It should be noted that the next item, Fred Bob versus PECO Energy Company Electric Division, has been postponed until public meeting of June the 19th. It is recommended that the commission adopt the last item on page 3 in the complaint proceeding involving Alexandra and George Escalera versus Columbia Gas of Pennsylvania, Inc., as well as the first 2 items on page 4, those being the Adamo Limousine Ltd. recommendation, as well as the recommendation involving the interconnection agreement in Windstream, Pennsylvania, LLC, and Salzgiver Telecom, Inc.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to take out of order the first 2 items at the top of page 5, those being interconnection agreements in the proceedings involving Verizon Pennsylvania LLC and North Penn Long Distance Corp. DBA North Penn Access, and Verizon North LLC and North Penn Long Distance Corp. DBA North Penn Access, and we recommend the adoption of the staff recommendations appearing there.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Chairman, please note that I concur in the result only on these 2 matters.
So noted. Any further discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
We now recommend, going back to page 4, the adoption of the staff recommendation in the interconnection proceeding involving United Telephone Company of PA LLC, DBA CenturyLink and Sprint Spectrum LP, as well as the 2 remaining interconnection agreements at the bottom of page 5 pertaining to Bentleyville Communications Corp. And Nextel, and Bentleyville Communications Corp. And Verizon Wireless, as well as all 3 interconnection agreements appearing on page 6 involving Bentleyville Communications Corp. And AT&T Mobility, Mariana and Scenery Hill Telephone Company and AT&T Mobility, and Mariana and Scenery Hill Telephone Company and Verizon Wireless, noting the combined statement of Commissioner Brown with regard to all of those items.
So moved.
Second?
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Brown for purposes of her combined statement. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to submit my comments for the record, but we'll summarize them. We have before us today 6 interconnection agreements executed between incumbent local exchange carriers and competitive local exchange carriers or providers of commercial mobile radio service. Every agreement here today was executed as long ago as July of 2012, but not filed until April of 2014. And to me, timing matters. The delayed filing of agreements means that the Commission's review of these agreements cannot occur in a timely manner. In the above documented cases, the Commission's review was delayed until almost 2 years after the agreement was already in operation. Second, and most important, competitors were not able to exercise their right to opt into these agreements until 2 years after they were in operation. And once again, I emphasize that timing matters. So in the future, I will just note that I will not hesitate to recommend to my fellow commissioners that such unexplained filing delays be subject to further examination. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion?
I join in those sentiments, by the way. There's really no excuse for this.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously, noting Commissioner Brown's combined statement.
And that,
Commissioner Cawley associating himself with that statement.
yes. That brings us to page 7 of the public meeting agenda and matters on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services. We do recommend in omnibus fashion the adoption of all of the items appearing on pages 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 through and including the recommendation in the proceeding involving the Yukon Waltz Telephone Company Simplified Rate-Making Plan.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Turning now to matters on behalf of the Office of Administrative Law Judge, commencing on page 14. With regard to ALJ Malilo's initial decision in the proceeding involving Crystal Gorba versus Pico Energy Company Electric Division, there was a joint motion of Commissioners Cawley and Brown.
I'd like to recognize Commissioner Cawley for purposes of joint motion.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Brown and I join in a motion and ask that it be placed in the record as if we had read it in its entirety. This is an initial decision regarding Crystal Garber, who complained in a formal complaint that incorrect charges had been placed on her bill by Pico Energy, and that she was not living at the service location when the bills were incurred, and further that her mother had requested that service be discontinued, but that the company had failed to honor that request. I won't read all of the motion, I won't read all of the motion, except to say this. It simply involves whether the complaint was dismissed with prejudice, meaning she can't file it again, or without prejudice. Normally, we dismiss these things without prejudice if there is sufficient reason for the complainant not showing at the hearing. We usually don't have much patience for complainants who don't show, because we have expended resources to provide for a hearing, namely the administrative law judge, a court reporter, the counsel for the company is normally there, and other people could be using our resources, and if someone doesn't show, it's been a waste of time for everyone. What happened here is it is alleged by the complainant's mother that she did not appear because she was incarcerated. And the administrative law judge dismissed the matter with prejudice. The record really isn't terribly clear on this point, but at least some of us feel that as a legal matter, we should at least open the door as a matter of due process for a further hearing should she wish to pursue this complaint when she is not incarcerated. And therefore, we move that the initial decision be modified to provide that it is dismissed without prejudice as opposed to with prejudice, and that the Office of Special Assistants prepare an opinion and order consistent with this motion.
I second the motion.
Second it from Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion?
Chairman, I'm going to be voting no on this matter, and I agree with the initial decision that has been issued by ALJ Malillo.
I, too, will be voting no. In reading the record, I believe the complainant did not meet the burden of proof, and the whole issue involving the alleged service at a residence, very clearly when you read the record, you can see right through this, as the judge did. that the complainant didn't make an accurate assessment of her residency, and therefore I think it was ruled appropriately. But the final vote is 3-2, noting the joint motions of Commissioner Brown and Cawley.
That concludes the presentation of regular agenda items. Turning now to the carrying agenda, on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, we recommend the adoption of the recommendation in the application proceeding involving Harrison Global LLC, TA Boston Coach.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that does conclude the presentation of agenda items.
And I believe we have no other items to come before the commission.
No.
On that note, we're adjourned. Everybody have a good weekend.